What's your definition of a graphic designer?
I really don't use the term graphic designer. I did at first before I understood that it was bigger than the process itself. Graphic design is just a tool. You know, I like to consider myself an art director, and what an art director is, somebody would come, like, say, like a Meek, I'd be like, yo, I got an album called Dreams Worth More Than Money. And because of stipulations with label, and just, they want everybody to digest the content at the same time. They'll come to you with a title. They'll have a very, very loose, almost no idea sometimes. And you gotta kind of mimic the stride of that person. You gotta mimic the, it's almost like an actor getting into a role. It's like you gotta know what they're trying to convey and how they're trying to connect with their audience and take your best shot at it. And not only, I think the idea itself is bigger than the cover. Sometimes the cover is the end product, you know, of the initial idea. So I think I'm more of an art director because it's like, it got so many fans, new ones, re-existing ones. People that don't even, probably not familiar with this artist sometimes. You know, you're responsible for catching their attention. People got the attention, goldfish nowadays. So, you know, art directors, they don't get a lot of credit, but they're really important in the process.
Did you go to school for it?
I did for 2 years. I went to Columbia College of Chicago. Took up a Bachelor in Fine Arts, minor in photography. And I went for 2 years. I had to drop out. I got real sick. Due to my diet and everything, I had like this acute sinusitis situation. And it took me out of commission for like 4.5 months. And I had bounced back. I ain't never stopped. Like, I didn't want to stop going to school. Like, if you left it up to me, I'd have still went. But yeah, I went to school for it. But pretty much design, I kind of self-taught it. Like, Photoshop became just like an instrument. Like, the creativity was always there though.
How'd you get popular?
I like to think I'm not popular. I mean, I can pinpoint when I started getting a little notoriety is when I did Dreams and Nightmares for Meek Mill, his first album. That was big, and it was like the first freshman album cover in a long time that the artist's face wasn't on there and it was still visually impactful. And it kind of like set the tone for like my style from then on. But I think that's the first time I could really pinpoint people starting taking notice of what I was doing.
Because, you know, when people think of graphic designers, I don't think, you know, even graphic designers that are out now that do notable mixtape covers and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I don't even think they have the same amount of followers as someone as yourself, like on Instagram, for instance.
Yeah, I think that come a lot from my clients really showing love and appreciation for them giving me their idea, and I can make it resonate with the body of work. Because graphic design, I like to think I was kind of like, you know, ahead of the curve as far as like the market. And it was a lot of people doing it when I was coming up. It was a lot of designers doing their thing. And I kind of took it away where, you know, I just wanted the collaboration between the designer and the artist to be just as important as the producer or the record company. Because, you know, it's like trying to sell a book without no cover, you know, and a lot of designers they had the opportunity, so I was just getting on board, like fighting a good fight with them. So shout out to all the other designers.
For someone that's not familiar with your work, give us the credit roll.
Credit roll, Red Cafe was the first dude that jumped down with me. That's my dude. Red Cafe, Meek Mill, Rick Ross, Future, Trey Songz, Chris Brown, Yo Gotti, Jay-Z, who else? Wale. A lot of people, like pretty much anybody that was out really putting out content, like from the year 2012 up to now. Fabulous, French Montana, of course, that's my dog. Metro Boomin, producers too, that been getting to it, DJs, everybody. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, out of all the work you've done in your whole collection, what's been your most favorite personally?
It's two of them actually. One is Dreams and Nightmares, the album cover by Meek Mill, only because like in these labels they be really having like art departments, and you know it's rare that you get somebody from the same type of environments that these artists from that's really good, because sometimes it's not always about how good you do things, it's how well you understand your client or your subject matter. So, but I have been doing a lot of work in the streets for a lot of DJs, a lot of promoters, a lot of anybody locally in Chicago that you can name. And you know, everybody knew I deserved the biggest stage and everything. And my homeboy, Greg Harrison, he was Wale management at the time. My homeboy, Mo, who was on Wale Camp 2. It just got real cool, and he had a lot of ties to the label, and he introduced me to one of the creative administrators over at Warner at the time. And Meek was, he was set to deliver his album, but he didn't really had no art behind it. And the title itself was like, it was a direct contrast. It's like, I could take all these shots, miss the opportunity, and then start from the bottom again, or wait for a next opportunity. Or, you know, I could succeed and, you know what I mean, like you hit the ceiling. And that's exactly what happened. I did like 10 covers for him at first, for Dreams and Nightmares. And the last one I did is the last one he picked. And, you know, ever since then, like, my name was hot as hell. But the second one was Devil Is a Lie for Jay-Z and Rick Ross. Like, for the simple fact, there was so much controversy around that track, like, if it even existed, or, you know what I'm saying, like, in the whole melee behind the producer and everything. But Jay-Z the type of nigga that don't need no intro. Like, you know what I'm saying, he don't need no cover, like, he on that level. So just to have my name on the same type of official artwork as that dude, I thought it was dope as hell. Like, you know what I'm saying? And moves like that make the industry respect you more too, like, quite frankly, you know what I'm saying? But I be thinking I be cut from the same cloth as these dudes, so I don't be no surprise, it'd be an honor. You know what I mean?
What was the hardest cover you've done? And when I say hard, I don't mean as in looks, I mean the hardest, like literally was the most tedious, you know, project.
It gotta be between FBG, the movie Free Band Game presents FBG the movie with Future, and Raheem Devon, a place called Love Land. Cause like everything you see on them covers like was individually layered. Like it could be like this small, like, you know what I'm saying? Raheem Devon, I had 57 layers in that. Yeah, like it was nuts. And then the FBG, like, people don't know that FBG stood for something. The F stood for friend or foe. The B stood for blood, sweat, and tears, and G stand for grind. So I had to combine all that, and like he wanted each one to illustrate, and I didn't want to just do FBG and then do a cutout of like some money, some enemies, this and that. I was like, man, I got this stage, I'm gonna take advantage of it. And so, and he said he was from Pluto, so I did the state of Georgia. It looked like it was dipped in platinum. Then they had the moon up there with the Versace logo on the state of Georgia. But it's like, no matter how far you go to Pluto, you know, that shit gonna be with him, his past, like the friend and foe with the ski mask on fire, then the Louboutin for blood, sweat, and tears, and then with the G, the Louis Duffel with the money flying out of that. It was against a white background. I just thought that was ill, like, you know what I'm saying? But like, to come up with that and do it to where it didn't look corny and be ambiguous enough for it to generate conversation, I think overall the different mechanic made it real difficult. Like,
now when you work, is it mostly on your computer, or is it like in a real studio setting type thing that you do your work in?
Really, it all depends. Like, I sometimes go to my hood in Maywood. It's west side Chicago. A little past the Chicago city limits. I go out there sometimes and design in the car when I want to be around that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of psychological things. When you become a brand yourself, it's a lot of things. You got a lot of people, you know, on one side that think it's just a fluke, or your style is this or that, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes I really be needing inspiration, because, you know, it's a lot. Like, especially with me, like when the only thing you love, like which is for me, it was this art shit where it took me to the moon, you know, figuratively, and you've been so many places, get exposed to so many things, and you learn how the business work, and that could be draining, and I do all this dolo, so sometimes I be having to clear my head, so it'd be I remember flying to whole other states to get some work off, because, you know, sometimes I want to, like, it's like you designing something for Diddy, right? Can't get no inspiration around, yeah, like the environments where that shit. Sometimes you gotta go to LA, put yourself in a 5-star hotel, live like Diddy. I walked around in the road for a whole day dancing and shit. Like, how would this feel? Like, how would he want this to feel? Like, it's crazy when you don't know, when you trying to attain something, you ain't never been in those type of settings and you had to create them, you know what I'm saying, to fit the mold. Like, I think that's where the real art come in at. So it's almost hit or miss, but mainly I be doing it at the crib.
What are your keys to success?
Repetition. You gotta do something over and over again you gotta think like a bodybuilder, right? Or like a marathon. Somebody practicing for a marathon. This nigga run 10 miles a day for fun. You know what I'm saying? And he built his tolerance up. So say if he had to chase after something, he already know how to time his breathing, time his stride, he's conditioned for it. Whereas if this same dude invited me out, I ain't ran a day in my life, you know what I'm saying? I probably take 20 strides full power and been unfainted, you know what I'm saying? So it's repetition. It's like to the point where like, what Dreams and Nightmares probably would have took me a week and a half, 2 weeks non-stop to like get my mind sharp to the point where those concepts being arm's reach instead of having to go in all these trances. But you know, now because I do it so much, whether it's for fun or whether it's for clients, I do it every day. I don't do nothing else. Literally, like, I sacrifice a lot of things to be able to meet these deadlines and continue doing my part and pushing the culture forward and changing assisting the change of how people interact and interpret music before they listen to it. That's one key, repetition. Two is sacrifice. A lot of people exaggerate, like, nigga, that show gonna be on tomorrow, or you catch that restaurant another time, or, you know, even with deeper shit like your family. Like, a lot of people have situations where they not in control of. Some people be having to take care of family members that's not able. I sympathize for people like that. But for people who got free time and choose to spend it in any other way towards what they feel like they deserve and what they need, I ain't really got no sympathy for it, because you could sacrifice a lot of things. You gotta trade, like, you know what I mean? Three is forward thinking outside the box. You know, it's like if you standing in front of a square, you know what I'm saying? You think it's a square until you step 2-3 steps to the left and see its other sides and other dimensions. That's a lot of information that you can use. Basically, that's a lot of information you can use. Just look at everything differently and interpret everything, don't rule nothing out. Like, you really gotta be a sponge in this shit. And, you know, 4 is discernment, because a lot of motherfuckers don't wish you well in this game, in this industry. People try to hoard your credit, your talent, you know, to the point where you gotta hide your tag in the artwork, and niggas feel like they plate ain't big enough already. I ain't speaking about nobody specifically, but, you know what I'm saying? Especially for designers, because I don't think it's important, but that's why I think it is. Sacrifice, dedication, discernment, and sacrifice.